few years ago when I was in the Montclair office, I'm running around, I'm cranking, doing a lot of 50 deals a year, whatever it is, right? I was a little depressed, right? I don't know what it was. It wasn't like money related. Doing very well. My buddy said, why don't you go see my therapist? The next morning I wake up, I look at my calendar, I go, I got to teach a class at 1 o'clock. I do not want to teach a class. But I had to suit up and show up. By the end of the class, people come up to you afterwards. Oh my God, it was so amazing. I felt like I was on cloud 9. I'm like, I don't need therapy. I just need to go out and help somebody.
Get ready for Real Lives of Real Estate, where the world of real estate meets the essence of your life. Buckle up as we unravel stories, homes, and the heartbeat behind it all. Let's dive into another episode. I hope you share and are encouraged. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with Eric Melnikoff, a new friend, realtor, developer, and gatherer of special people. Really got to get know each other a little bit closer during the Building Now event a few weeks back down Long Branch.
We did.
Yeah, it was a really special time. Honestly, I think you had a massive amount of hitters. It was the number one event I've ever been to where it was like back to back to back to back value. It was, I've never seen that before. It was just like packed, like there was no break. It's just
there was no breaks, and
no break.
The next Build It Now has to be spread out over 2 days to get the same amount of content.
I agree. I think that's actually a good call, honestly, because I was there. I was like, man, I'm overwhelmed. It was just so much value.
Quick pace.
Yeah, but it's a lot of value. So with that said, we're glad to have you on the podcast today.
Appreciate that.
Grateful for the invite to be able to go down to Build It Now. Want to ask you the $1 million question. Not where, but what did you grow up in?
What did I grow up in?
A house, an apartment?
Sure. So after I was born, they brought me home to Brookdale Gardens, which is right near Brookdale Park. It's a garden apartment building.
Oh, in Newark or Bloomfield?
In Bloomfield.
Uh-huh.
Brookdale Park, right? Yeah. So that's where my parents lived for the first 6 months of my life. And then we moved to West Caldwell. We were the third house, 4-bed, 2.5 bath, Center Hall Colonial for the times. And even now, it's like, upper middle class.
Yeah.
Good upper middle class neighborhood.
Yeah. How old were you, did you say, when you moved there?
6 months.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And I stayed there till I was 18.
Whoa. So your whole upbringing, one house, one bedroom.
My bedroom on a cul-de-sac across the street from the elementary school. Typical,
That's not typical. That's like the dream, I feel.
Well, yeah, I was going to say typical, like, that my father's an attorney. Mother was a stay-at-home mom. They got separated and divorced when I was 9.
Who
stayed there
in the house?
We did. My mother.
Your mom and you.
Right.
And your dad headed out. Where did he move to?
Newark.
Oh, so he was right. He was
Colonnades.
not far at all.
And
15 minutes.
And then 375 Mount Prospect Ave.
North.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this was my second home. I used to take 29 bus all the way down from West Caldwell down.
How old were you when you were taking the bus?
11.
Whoa, different time.
Different times.
Different time.
Different times,
It's funny because back then Newark was much more dangerous.
It didn't seem like it.
Really?
It didn't seem like it. It was, I'd walk through Branchbrook Park because I'd cut through, through the mansions and go down right there, 375 Mount Prospect Ave.
Wow,
sure.
man. What a trip. Now, let me ask you a question. How did... You have the quintessential American dream, right? You're in the single family house. Sadly, the divorce, right? How do you think being in a single family and the cul-de-sac had impacted you versus if you had lived with your father when you had the Mount Prospect Newark life?
Well, it's definitely more cush, right? It's that like you said, that all American dream. The only thing we didn't have was the white picket fence.
No dog, no golden retriever.
We had a dog.
Okay.
We had a collie. Sure. And I don't know how it would have been different. My father is an attorney, and he had his practice in East Orange. He lived in his office for a little while when they first got divorced. Yeah. Before he went to the Colonnades, and we'd have to, if we want to go see my father, I would go sleep there. I remember sleeping in like a bookshelf.
Wow.
I was a little kid, right? Mm-hmm. So it was fun. But who knows? I mean, living in Newark, I would stay there over the weekends. It was fun. I liked it,
Wow.
I liked it. JJ's hot dogs, $3 for $1 back then.
$3 for $1. Inflation. What happened?
What are they now?
Well, God knows. I think that's actually really crazy because I've asked a lot of people that question when it comes to like, okay, how does where you grew up, or not where you grew up, but really what you grew up in affect you? Because I think it does play such a big role in our upbringing, right? Real estate. I asked people like one interesting guy. He said, very interesting. He was talking about him living in a 3-family, And he said he actually was mind blown that when he realized people have houses where they're the only family that live in them. And he was like 12 or 11.
Is that Avellino?
No, you know,
I know Avellino.
Yeah,
I watch your episodes. So.
Oh yeah, no, appreciate it. It was a guy, Kyle Webster, and we are on the podcast. I think it was like, no, he was actually sharing about his single family experience, but then he ended up buying a 2-family or something like that. But the point is, we are oftentimes not really aware that people do have like the multifamily versus single family, that our parents own something versus rent something. And that does really shape us when it comes to stability. Your parents split, granted, but geographically you were very stable, and then you kind of had the bus life going back and forth. Do you think things would have been different if you just moved to Newark full time? How do you think that would have impacted you?
I think, and listening to how you rephrase that, and explain it, I don't think I had the mindset where I looked at it. I didn't look at the where I grew up or what I grew up in until I was into real estate.
Really?
Until my late 30s.
When did it click to you? Wow. When did it click to you that your mom owned the house?
When she kept getting threats of losing the mortgage, losing the house because she couldn't afford the $263 mortgage, and the electric get turned off because she chose to pay the mortgage bill instead of the electric bill. And we'd have to cook, or the gas. So we had the PSE&G. We'd have to cook our food in the fireplace.
Wow.
We had a fireplace though, So I realized that then when I was 11, 12, 13, 14, that wow, we had a mortgage.
Whoa.
And we didn't grow up. It was a very contentious divorce.
Yeah.
And so my mother struggled a lot.
Wow.
She struggled. So I knew then that she would tell me she's trying to keep the house.
Whoa.
Yeah.
How does that shape your mind? You're 13. You can't really comprehend that. Your dad's in the house. You're kind of like the man of the house, but not the man of the house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are you thinking in your mind like, oh, I got to start, shoveling driveways to help?
We did, yeah.
Oh, no, wow. Okay.
Well, we didn't pitch in, unfortunately. We didn't, but we worked.
Yeah.
We shoveled driveways back in the day, probably before you were born. There was a oil embargo when Carter was president.
Okay.
And I couldn't have been more than 14 years old. I'd have to look at the years. But my brother and I went and bought like 3 dozen donuts and a couple boxes of coffee, and would sell coffee and donuts on the lot because you couldn't get gas in your car every day of the week. So if you had an odd license plate, you can go on like Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Wow.
And evens would be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or whatever,
like
the opposite days. So we would go. There'd be long lines at the gas station. Like
wow.
You'd have to wait 45 minutes an hour to get gas.
Wow.
Back in the late 70s, I guess it was.
Whoa.
Early 80s, whenever Carter was president. And we would sell donuts. So we were always entrepreneurial.
Yeah,
always shoveling driveways.
Hustlers.
Always looking to make money.
Do you think you would have had that if your mom was in a better financial position?
I don't know. I could, looking at it now, I see my son, who's 13 years old, who lives a very cush lifestyle.
Yeah.
And, the neighbors, well, they live it too. They're always selling. They're coming and buy. In school, they sell, they make bracelets. So they go out and say, hey, let's just make bracelets and sell them. Every other week. Can we rake your lawn? Can we do this?
Your neighbors are saying to you.
Yeah.
What is your son asking you? No.
No.
Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
This is actually a big way that real estate has impacted my life. I had a very similar upbringing. My parents split. They had a not contentious divorce, but they had a tragic marriage is the only term I'd use, right? Yeah. The whole thing was just tragic. Evicted multiple times. And I had this like innate, my brothers and my sisters, we all have it. None of us are lazy, not one of us. But I had a disproportionate amount of like workaholism in me at an early age, contrast to my siblings from my experience, right? A lot of drive, each one of us. We had nothing, like you're saying. I remember growing up and like never even having the opportunity to, and then when I work with clients, I'm so careful when I tell them about how buying a house. I'm like, you're not looking to become a home buyer. You got to become a homeowner. Right. That means you have to make sure you're making really good financial decisions. Really good that you're comfortable. Right. My mom, my dad, they really couldn't provide the financial. When I was 13, 12 years old, 14, I would literally door knock saying, hey, do you need help bringing in groceries?
Anything.
Literally like I was in the 1960s movies. I was like, whatever you need help with, I live this house, this street. You can always ring the doorbell. Let me know. Boom. The problem is we move so often.
Right.
Right. So that was a little bit of a negative hit. But that was what it was. But I would go and I would shovel all stuff. And now I have a 1 year old, a 1 year and 4 month old. And one of my biggest fears I share with my wife is I don't want him to grow up weak. I don't want him to grow up spoiled. I want him to be a De Silva, strong and like driven.
Sure.
And she goes like, the only way that's gonna like happen to the degree it happened with you is if our son experiences like deep trauma. I'm like, there has to be another way. She goes, Brendan, you and your brothers are savages. Like there's like, I'm not even, not in a good way either. My wife is not saying this in a positive, framework by any means. Don't get it twisted. But Eric, I look at this now and my fear is that my son will be like 14 and he will not door knock for shoveling.
It's, I think it has to do a combination of, and he grew up in a country in Africa. He didn't grow up.
Who? Your son?
Yeah, his stepson.
Oh, wow.
So he grew up in Angola, Portuguese, and he came here when he was 5, and they didn't have a lot. And so you would think coming here now, but he acclimated real quickly, and he went to school here for his first year, right? In a private school in Newark, and so when he came to the suburbs, quote unquote, like he got real used to it. He got Americanized real quick.
Wow, it's funny how adaptable children are, huh? You drop them off, they'll absorb the culture.
Exactly. So, I was taking him home from football practice one day, and I was saying, look, I go, what do you want to be when you grow up? That's my question. I asked my niece that when she was like 7. She's like, Uncle, please, wait 10 years. Talk to me when I'm 17. It's a question I ask all the time. So, and he's like, oh, leave me alone. I want to play football. I'm like, all right, let's have it out right now. Mm-hmm. You're good at football, and he's kid's good. But let's just assume, let's just say, for argument's sake, it's not your go-to. What are you going to do? Like, you can start today he's 13 years old.
Yeah, build it now.
You could start today. No one can stop you from thinking a certain way.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to impress upon him is how to think. You have a choice. You can be on the video games all day.
Yep.
You could worry about growing your hair in your face like the kids do today.
Yeah. You
could put on your silly cologne before you go to school and wear your slippers and sweats to school. It doesn't make any sense. You're worried about how you smell, but you look like dumb. You look like a bum. But you could do that, or you could be different, and you could think differently. And look at the kids, the neighbors. I would say that. Look at the neighbors. Why are they always trying to sell something? So, and it's not really about the money.
No, it's not.
It's about how you think, because how you show up there is going to how you show up everywhere. Yeah. We've heard that before. Mm-hmm. And what you can do, who you can impact if you happen to be an earner. If you happen to get lucky enough where you are an earner, who could you impact?
I think it's one of the biggest underrated factors when it comes to building wealth and getting into real estate. When you get into, most people I've learned, when they get into real estate sales, they're doing it to make some money and get themselves afloat. Okay, so you do that for a year, 2, 3, 4 years. Now you're stable, right? You're doing very well. Perhaps you're making 150, 200 grand. Whoa, good. The real X factor, like the exponential, right? Growth, the quantum leap in the KW world is really when you realize that could happen for others, that you can play a vital role in others. And then for me, what happened was, it's not what transformed my mind was, it's not even just about that I can help others, not just, of course, home buyers, home sellers, great, but my employees, my staff, right, my team, because what I learned from that is I have the opportunity, I have the privilege, and I would even say like the calling,
the responsibility.
Yeah, it's a burden.
Yeah,
but it's a good burden.
Yeah, one of the things I'll tell you, a few years ago when I was in the Montclair office, I'm running around, I'm cranking, doing a lot of 50 deals a year, whatever it is, right? And I was going through like a couple week of a low emotionally. I was a little depressed, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know what it was. It wasn't like money related.
Yeah,
at
doing
all.
well.
I was doing very well. My buddy said, he said, why don't you go see my therapist? I said, all right, I can make the call, set up an appointment. It's at 3:00 on whatever day. So I go to sleep that night. The next morning I wake up, I look at my calendar, I got to teach a class at 1:00. I'm like, I do not want to teach a class. But I had to suit up and show up. So I did just that. And I showed up, and there's like 60 people in this class. They're all filling in. I'm like, and I had to fake it.
Yeah.
Because inside I was kind of like
Been there.
I was not great. By the end of the class, and you know if you've taught a class before, people come up to you afterwards. Oh my God, it was so amazing. And I got in my car. I felt like I was on cloud nine. You know, because you're pouring into other people.
Yes.
And I'm like, I don't need therapy. I just need to go out and help somebody. Boom. It was like that.
You have like the boom, you know, the
Yeah,
bomb.
that bomb. That's Bradley.
Bradley, you have his bomb
Bradley.
button.
And so that's what it was. I was like, wow. I mean, look, it's not the first time I've done it, but it just kind of all clicked at that point. I was like, wow, yeah, I just need to. I went to the therapy. I should have canceled it for $250. I could have just taught another class.
You
You know,
even get paid for the class.
exactly.
Get a referral.
But you know, no, it's you know what, it's the reward, and it sounds corny. The reward is being able to pour into someone. And one of the things I love best, and you know, because you have a team, is I like to. Sometimes I cringe at the thought of taking a newbie on. But when they click and they're coachable and they do what you tell them, what you suggest. I'm not going to say what I tell them.
Yeah.
Here's the recipe to make the pie.
Literally,
You
step
know?
by step.
This is how to do it. I got a guy. He came out of right in the beginning of COVID. First year, made over $175,000 in his pocket after splitting. You know, so he did very well
On the team.
On the team.
So you see that this guy was bringing it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, huge. Yeah. Now, what do you think the difference is? I guess a little bit away from how real estate impacts our lives, but you know, we do have a lot of realtors who listen and a lot of lenders. You know, and my team is interesting because we're much more uniformed, right? Like there's like a cluster of income. There's not like we don't have one person all the way up here, one person below. It's all clustered, maybe a little bit of a high trend, a few. But my question is, what would you say the difference is between those who are able to earn $175,000 net after team splits versus those who just can't break 20 or 40 or 50K? What do you see the difference being?
There's a specific recipe to success in most businesses. Ours is pretty simple, right? It's a contact sport. Unless you're spending, you know, tens of thousands of dollars every month to have the leads come to you, which is usually not the case when they're new, right? You have to go out and find the business. So I tell all my newbies, it's contact sport, make a lot of contacts. Start with your friends and family and go from there.
Yeah.
You know, once you get comfortable with that, or just cold call neighborhoods.
Yep.
So making those phone calls, we're
That's the number one difference you would say. The action and the consistency.
action and consistency.
Wow. I will agree with you 110%. The reason why I know this is because I have a team member. He's not predisposed to being a salesperson. Okay. Granted, I think sales is all skills. I think there is like a personality that leads you to be more conducive to the adapting and the, you know, the enhancement of those skills and the frameworks mentally. And, you know, I do agree you have an introverted salesperson. It's really just skills. But at the same time, there is a natural component that does accelerate the development. He's the opposite. He would be like remedial. He would be challenged. I tell him all the time, like if we were in school, you would not be able to be in the normal classes. You would have to, because it's just there's a gap. Like literally, he doesn't know how to walk. And the thing I love about him is he's the best. He's team member of the month right now. He had the best quarter of his life, Q1. He had like 7 deals under contract and 7 or 8 deals under contract, Q1. Closed 6 deals on top of that. 6 deals closed, 7, 8 under contract. So a very good month, a very good quarter for an agent. Great. I'm very proud of him. The thing I love about him is that he got better skills, but overall it was the consistency and the actions he took on the dialer, showing up on the office, not this virtual do your own thing. Like he leaned in that led him to the growth. And I found that you're right, consistency in the actions with those consistency.
Let me. I'm going to put it a little more into context. So the gentleman I'm speaking about, who did really well, when he called me up and he wanted to interview,
New agent,
wasn't licensed at the time.
Oh,
He sounded, and I don't mean this to be judgmental on anyone on the way they sound, but I judged him over the phone.
yeah.
I'm like, okay, this guy's not, like, he sounded like he had marbles in his mouth. He sounded like he was as young as he was. And I'm like, call me at 4:43 next Tuesday. Like I was giving him weird things and he would call me. And he followed up and he followed up. I'm like, all right, I'll let him come.
That's a good test.
Then he comes in and he says, I want to join your team. And at the time, it was just myself and an assistant. I'm like, why don't you go home and think about that? 2 or 3 times he comes. After coming in the 3rd or 4th time, I said, all right, I'm going to let this guy join my team. He was coachable. He wasn't good on the phones.
Yeah.
You don't have to be great. You just have to do it.
Yeah.
And, it probably took him 9 months until he was where I would say, it's okay. He's going to be okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he blew it for 9 months, but he failed forward. He
got a few
continued.
deals.
Oh, yeah. All friends and family. He did exactly what I
All
told him
friends
to
and family?
he did like 9 deals in his first 9 months. A deal a month.
Can't get mad.
Not mad.
Can't
right?
get mad.
Yeah, like 45 grand when he started the week before the COVID shutdowns.
Oh, wow.
2020.
Oof.
And so that was March, I believe.
Yeah.
So April, May, June. The rest of the year.
If it wasn't for COVID, he probably would have gotten more because you got shut down those first 2 or 3 months.
I think it is what it is. I think he did really well. The first 2021, was his first full year.
Yeah,
I mean, and you know what he did? He stayed on the phones. He knew he wasn't great.
Do you know I live on the phone to this day? I got
to get back on.
I live on the phones. I don't want to do it. Like, to me, I go through seasons. I will say, where I lose my consistency. And this is what usually happens. I ride the roller coaster of sales. It's a little, so the roller coaster of prospecting, and this is one way real estate has taught my life, right? Because I always love to take real estate lessons and apply it to my daily life. If I am, let's say, loving on my wife, right? We're taking her on dates. I'm providing, safety, emotional safety. I'm writing her letters. I'm taking her, flowers. I'm just calling her, checking in on her, all these things. And she starts feeling really loved. She feels really loved. So what does she do? She returns the respect, right? She respects and she celebrates me and all these things. And then I'm feeling respected. I'm feeling this way. So I say, I'm good. I did my job.
You're good.
I'm good. I'm going to relax for a little while.
You got it in the bank.
I go watch a movie at night instead of talking to her. I Google, maybe I'm home and I'm on Instagram, or perhaps I stop making that call and I stop dropping stuff. I get very comfortable. I'm good. I got some deals in the pipeline. Eventually, what ends up happening very quickly is that my wife, she turns. And that good, cash that was coming in on those deals, just like your wife, it turns. So I realized one way real estate really has impacted my life is it's taught me that every single thing in my life, in order to grow, it needs to be maintained. Like, in order for it to say, go out, like, have you ever sold someone's house and, it's like this person's been there for like 40 years, 50 years. But you walk in and you're like, man, it's not updated. It's not renovated. Like, the kitchen's old. But then you get downstairs to the boiler room. And the furnace, the water heater, pristine. The plumbing, pristine. Yeah. The siding, clean. Yeah. Roof, new. Inside, nothing fancy. Outside, nothing fancy. Bones, yeah. Maintained slowly, surely, by quality, not cheapening out. Every single month, they made sure it was touched. Oh, the water heater, we got to drain it. Oh, really? Or whatever it was, And I find that same way with agents on the phones. It's all about consistency, and I really find that with things in my life. I know a man, his car went to his Honda went to 270 something thousand miles. It was insane. His Honda Civic, it was like 270, almost 300,000 miles, his car. I was like, how the heck did you do it? He goes, I take superb care of my car. And I'm like, no duh. Okay, so let me ask you, back to kind of more rapid fire. How has, let me know if I got it right. You're a real estate agent right now. I am. You're a developer. You're buying. You have one deal right now that I saw on Instagram recently. Was that the deal you mentioned in Montclair? You had a deal. What was that one that you just were going to knock down? What was that
some
one?
of the videos.
Yeah,
is in Teaneck.
Oh, Teaneck. How is the Teaneck market? Is it hot?
It is.
I don't even know. I'm sure everything's hot right now, but
it's crazy.
Where is Teaneck? Bergen County?
Bergen County.
I have no idea where that is.
Yeah, it's 5 minutes from the George Washington Bridge.
Oh wow, so it's a perfect location.
Yeah, so it is. It's crazy. It's we'll see. I was shocked when I looked at the numbers. I say, well, we got to take.
Why is that? Was it the comps that surprised you, or you were like, how are these things selling for these prices? Yeah. Now, when you're looking for deals, it can be risky, right? I'm sure you've lost money eventually.
I have not.
You have not lost money. Oh, now I got to ask you this: how do you go into deals managing the risk without like losing your head?
Without losing my head or losing the money?
The head, right? Getting obsessed, focused, stressed out, losing your temper.
I like to say I go on my gut, but it's not. It's experience, right? So, and we look at deals. My partner does say when it comes time to actually pricing it when we're done,
Mm-hmm.
he goes, why is it taking so long for you to figure out the price? You do this all day long. If I was a listing appointment, you'd come in, you'd tell me what it is, and that's it.
Done.
With my own, it's like I hem and haw for 2 weeks on how to price it.
Really?
I do. I get a little weird. But the reality, we just did one in Montclair. We bought it for $728.
Mm-hmm.
We put in only $80,000. I listed it back on the market for $748.
Montclair market, though, is insane.
Sold it for $300,000 over the asking price.
Yeah.
But I knew that if I listed it for like $950,
Yeah.
I probably would only gotten $50,000 over. That's the way it works there.
No, Montclair, I agree with you 100%. It's one of the strangest things to me in the world.
Right.
It's the only place where you can overprice a property by not pricing it low enough under the value.
Yeah.
So, like, by overpricing doesn't mean you actually price it more than it's worth. You just didn't price it low enough. Like, they want it to go $200,000-300K. So that's a home run deal. You buy it for $730, you put in $80K, you're all in, let's say $840, $830, whatever.
I think we were all in just about $810.
$810, okay.
Not counting cost of money. And
let's say cost of money then, even $840, whatever it is.
$840, $850.
Yeah, $850. Okay, great. $850. You end up selling it for 1.1.
$1,047,000.
$1,047,000.
Yeah, we're getting ready
A
to
long
close.
way from selling donuts.
Although we could get high on our own supply when we were selling the donuts.
Come on.
But we're doing another one in Montclair. We're going to close next week.
Walk me through your process, like your relationship with money. How has it transformed from the kid selling donuts to the guy who just, you and your partner brought in like $200,000 profit on a deal?
I'd like to say that I have a high respect for money, and I make all the right moves. I'd be lying. I'm not saying I don't respect money, but I haven't made all the right moves with the money, in my past. And I bring in some partners. So, on my deals, I usually own 30 to 40% of the deal. My partner and I will own anywhere from 60 to 80% of the deal, and we then raise the capital to fund the deal. So I have very little money in the deal. And for me, it's a steward to the results. I'm a steward to the profit. Like, I got to make sure the deal makes money for other people.
Have you been in a position where you've lost money for others?
No, thank God.
Really?
Thank God.
That is a very rare thing.
Yeah, we've done 21, 19, 20, either between 19 and 20. We're trying to figure that out now because we're looking at a new lender. So we got to put our resume together. And let's call it 20 deals. I was like, every one of them have done really well. And
well, one of the things I've been so blown away by is oftentimes people raise money for a deal. They feel this pressure to, I got to pay back my investors' profits. When I think to myself, though, if you're an investor, aren't you putting in the money realizing this is a risk? So if the person who brings you the deal loses money, you also, as the investor, you should lose money too. But I feel like that's not what happens.
That's not what happens.
People who raise money, they always want to pay back everybody. I'm like, if I give you money and you lose my money, I'm going to be pissed off. But you better have lost money too. If you lose money too and I lose money too, I'm going into that educated. This is what happens.
We had a deal 2 deals ago where we usually shoot for a minimum of $100,000 of profit. Usually get it done within 6 months. Well, this deal was not as juicy. It turned out we were only making like $70,000. And as we were closing, I'm running the numbers like, wow, it looks like we're only making $50,000. And I had like 4 investors in the deal. And I was committed at that point in time. I said, look, if we make less than $50,000, even if we only made $50,000, they would have made 20% on their money. Not bad. But it wasn't what I said they were going to make. And I was going to make like 200% because I put in a little bit of money. So I said, look, if we're only at $50,000 or less than $50,000, I'm going to then supplement from my profits.
Oh,
because you know what? Again, if I made 100% instead of 200, I'm fine. I still make the commission when I sell the deal.
yeah.
I made the commission when I found the deal.
So you're baking in the profits.
I'm making money. I'm
Yeah.
doing well. I wanted to make sure that my people, that what I said was going to happen happens.
How would you say that real estate has impacted the way you view your reputation versus someone who's not in real estate? Let's say someone who's W-2, they live a great life, very,
It's interesting you say that because this last Build It Now, during and after the event, I'm getting people texting me and say, hey, could you look at some deals with me? They want to do deals. And in fact, I have 2 people from Build It Now who are invested in this deal. This one that's coming up. They want to invest money. They don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to do it. So I said, the only way I'll take your money is if you pay attention and you let me teach you as we're moving through the process. So that's what we're doing. But they came to me because they trust me. And they see the history, and they know me before Build It Now.
Yeah.
They know me as a real estate agent, a broker. And so I think the way I view it and the status is I'm lucky. You know, I'm lucky. I drive home a lot of nights, and I'm like, this is my life. This is pretty cool. You know?
What about your life now that you would attribute to real estate makes you feel so fortunate?
You know, people are usually their worst own enemy, right? Including myself. But when you know this, if you're talking to somebody and you're going on a listing, you know, sometimes the way the questions or the things people think, they're like, oh, I gotta, you know, sales is like winning people over, is converting people to think the way, you know, to your way of thinking. And it's not because I'm looking to get something out of them. It's because a lot of times they're their worst own enemy.
Ah, I gotcha.
Right. So I think it's a pretty cool career we have where and it's a big ticket item. You know, you're helping someone preserve the equity in their home, many cases, right? And I just think that's a really cool thing, you know, that we get to, you know, there's been sellers who have thought a certain way, which would have been detrimental to their financial health. And then I get in there and I shoot it straight from the hip. You know, I don't care if you like me or don't like me. This is the truth.
One massive way real estate has impacted me as a person is growing up. I got bullied a lot, right? So I found myself as like a response, desperately doing what I can to get validation of others, right? That was like my response to it, right? So I would do whatever I needed to do, be whoever I needed to be, say whatever I needed to say to get people to like me. My life basically plummeted at 20, where basically everyone who liked me was like, oh, this guy is not the guy for us. So that like I kind of had the rug swept under, pulled from underneath me. And what real estate did though, it taught me that even the people you think love you don't actually love you. They love what you can offer them at that moment. And it taught me how like fickle people can be.
Yeah.
And the perspective. So it kind of I would love to say, and hand in hand with that, at the same time, I really did have like a lot of like discovery where it came to like, I'm trying to fill my cup with like work, accomplishments, recognition.
Sure.
That's empty, right?
Sure.
You can pour forever. And then also you get like the aspect of God. For me, I'm a Christian. I feel like, oh, God really loves me. This is like, what does that actually mean? Which they say, I was reading this book, says the hardest thing to actually believe is that God can love you. It's like the hardest belief a human can go after is actually understand that he is loved in and of, like without meritocracy, like undisputed, like unconditional. Anyways, whole point there is real estate has taught me that to drive yourself for the recognition and or approval of others is a black hole of a life. It's just pure misery. Here's why. Tony Robbins says this. He says, for all driven people, right? I'm actually really a big fan. I used to hate Tony Robbins, but just out of nothing, the more I get into this guy, the more I love him, honestly. I think he's very brilliant. Anyways, he says...
Did you ever walk on coal?
No. My brother has actually.
I did.
You did? You went? Yeah. Unleash, UPW? Unleash Your Power Within, right? Yeah. Anyways,
20 years?
They're doing actually a Prudential one in November. I'm thinking about going.
He was here a couple years back.
He's coming back this year, November, yes. He was
I'll definitely go.
My first year in real estate, I was at Exit Realty Lucky, and they came in selling tickets. I'm like, I'm not going to go. But now I'm like, if I went, I would have made so much more money. I got to go. So
I distracted you. Go.
Yes, but the point is, he goes, have any of you guys always had a goal you always want to achieve, and you haven't been able to hit it? Because how many of you guys feel empty because of that? No one raised their hand. Everyone felt driven, right? They were frustrated perhaps, but no one felt empty, right? He goes, how many of you guys have had a goal you've sacrificed? For me, it was the recognition of others, the validation of others, the acceptance of others. And once you got it, a feeling of dread came upon you. Complete, utter meaninglessness. And that's what happened to me. I got the validation. I was like, yeah. And I realized I had gotten the validation because of what I've done, not really a true description of who I am.
It's interesting. As you're talking, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I wasn't bullied but I was the long-haired, outcast in school.
I'm all about it.
And So I marched to a different beat.
Yeah.
You know? And so I really care what people. I always had that. I didn't really care. I never cared what anyone thought about me. And growing up, when I say I drive home sometimes, and I'm like, wow, how is this my life? You know, I got kids. I got a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old, two daughters, not just kids.
Oh,
my daughters.
Girls. God bless you.
2 girls, right? And it's like, I am so blessed. I am so blessed to have this opportunity to be a man among men. It's really changed the way I look at things. Am I looking for their validation? No. I just want to be a good man.
Yeah.
I want to be a good father.
Yep.
First and foremost, a good dad. And treat people the way I want to be treated. Right? We had a thing, right?
We went back and forth. Yeah.
We went back and forth, right? We had a little thing, and after we closed the deal, we used little words. And for the next year, I had a little bit of a
bad taste.
little bad taste, right?
Yeah. Merited. Warranted.
You know, but I kept doing my thing. I'm sure you know, you're not thinking about me. I'm not 99% of the time not thinking about me. Every once in a while I see a post, I'm like,
this guy.
Kid.
Yeah.
And then no. We're human, man.
Yeah, that's true.
Believe me, I have done a lot worse. And I called you up. It took me about an hour to decide. I'm going to call the guy or text. I don't know if I texted you or called you or whatever. I'm going to reach out, ask you to contribute at Build It Now.
Yeah.
Because I know there's value. You know, you bring value. And I said, what am I going to hold a resentment? Hold a grudge? How's that going to do anything for anyone?
Man, your wisdom is so high.
You know, and I ate my pride because any resentments I had, it's all inside here. It's got nothing to do with anyone else. I'm sitting here, you know, it's like, what do they say? Resentment's like, I want to get this right. It's drinking the poison.
Yeah.
It's hating you enough, but I drink the poison, something like that.
It's like you drink the poison, hoping the other person's going to die.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, I will say you're 100% on the money. And I have found, though, the only good news about one of the good pieces of good news is the more and more I've actually, taken care of myself and love myself, the less and less and less I'm a jerk to other people. Because what I realized in that moment, it's like, I'm so pissed off already. You're like, and I'm not excusing the behavior that when I lost my cool, but I would love to say that was the only example. But one of the things that I really heal from, I'm all about now, and that's why I'm a big believer in the podcast, is because I want people to see you can achieve great things at the cost of your own well-being. And then what you have when you look behind you isn't just pot gold. The pot gold has a lot of blood in it. Because there's a trail of bodies that you've stepped on that weren't necessary.
Right.
It's not like, I had to do this to get that. That's not what it was. It's like I pushed myself so hard that I was already so stressed out that any person who rubbed me the wrong way, I then was like, boom.
You know what? One of the things that made it easy for me to decide is dude, you're gonna be a hypocrite. If you're gonna hold resentment, you know, I tell you, I had a you know, if I'm gonna be a hypocrite, that's one thing. But I had this sweetheart of a realtor out in Pennsylvania who owed us a referral fee, and KW agent too.
Yeah.
And it was my agent on my team who gave her the referral, and he's like, Eric, it's been 6 weeks since the thing closed. So finally I get involved, and she says, just send me a referral sheet. And I'm like, I'm looking at the text messages. Just send me the referral. It didn't go that quiet. It wasn't that calm though. She rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah.
I raised my voice to a woman.
Oh, but I've been there.
I go home that night. I'm thinking, oh man, I called her up the next day and made amends. And she was shocked that I made that amends.
Good for you.
I had to.
I have a friend. She was a rock star. She became a team member. She was my executive assistant. She was property manager and director of ops. I overworked her. I undercompensated her. And I horribly, horribly, horribly underappreciated and treated her poorly. There's nothing I can do to make that right. At this point, it was 2 years into it. She ended up leaving the team. We left on relatively good terms with friends. But anytime I talk to her, maybe she's listening to the podcast, she knows how I feel. But anytime I talk to her, I'm reminded, not a shame way, but in a cautionary tale of, if you are going to be a jerk to yourself, you're going to be a jerk to the people closest to you. And the people closest to you, they put up with it because they see the best of you. But eventually, the slashes add up, and you end up just being a jerk. You end up losing the relationship. You end up losing the social capital, losing the relational equity. You end up in a place where you then have the burden, the guilt. They're like, man, I treated you wrong, and you trusted me to help you grow professionally and as a person. So, man, she's a woman, right? And I'm telling you right now, my mentality is at all costs, since actually this is probably recent. Maybe September really was a catalyst. The past year actually was a catalyst. Today I turned 30, funny enough, right? But
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I realized, man, real estate can be very stressful. You can lash out and attack people along the way. You think it's all good because you're just on to the next phone call, but it's not all good. And you got to make I'm very impressed with you, because usually that takes people months to make that call of boom. But I love that you made that the next day. I love it.
Yeah, it's we were only here for a short period of time, and it's I've learned this, and if anything, in the 55 years on this planet, that who knows what can happen, right, with a relationship, and who you can help. I look at it, my Build It Now community and the live events for me is about impacting people. And
would you have been there if it wasn't for the real estate industry? If it wasn't for, you and Keller Williams are very big into impacting others. But if it wasn't for real estate, do you think you still would have been so eye-opening to the impact of others?
I probably would. I just don't know if I'd have the vehicle to do it, right?
What do you mean by vehicle?
Well, for years, I'm in real estate 20 years. And for years...
All as an agent, investor?
Started out as an investor.
Oh, you started as an investor?
Just for a minute.
Okay.
Just for a minute, did a deal, and then became an agent. And then as I opened up my own brokerage in Hoboken, I started investing again. And so, in fact, my first flip, I assigned a contract. He's now my business partner. He found me on Craigslist. I put the ad on Craigslist.
Wow.
We're now partners, 50-50 in everything we do.
Would you mind sharing that story about how he paid you that first?
Yeah.
You told me at the bar that night.
So we put up bandit signs. In fact, I just got 200 bandit signs. We're going back on the road.
Come on.
We're going on the road to put bandit signs out. I'm not going to do it, but one of my guys. So I put bandit signs out. I get this lady in Edgewater. They're going to buy something in Westfield. They got to close in 3 weeks, and they couldn't sell their condo because the condo was defunct. The association was upside down.
Condos.
So she calls my bandit sign. Things worth $300, $325 if it were all good, well, normal. It wasn't all normal, so I said, look, I'll give you $220. They took it. They're like, we'll take it. So
should have offered $210.
Well, first I said $240. Then when I got there, I'm like, and they said, we'll take it. And I said, yeah, I looked at it. It needs to be $220. I'm sorry. They said, we'll take it.
Wow.
Put a $5,000 deposit down. Put it on Craigslist to sign the contract. This kid responds. This guy responds. Meet him at Starbucks with his brother. Didn't know what I was walking into. And he's like, well, what do you own it for? I go, don't worry about what I own it for. What do you want to pay for it? Well, I'll give you $240. I want $280. So I got up and started to walk out. He goes, come on back. Don't go so quick. I'll give you $265. I said, done. Whatever it was, I don't know exact numbers. It was like a $32,000 profit. We shook on it, and then he found out what I owned it for. Most people would go back to the table. They call it retrade, right? They renegotiate the deal. Turns out he had to put the $260 in, another $60,000 to renovate it. He only made like $40,000.
Wow. I
made $32,000 on a $5,000 investment, so it was a pretty cool deal.
How did you get paid though? I remember you mentioning something was up with the loan or something. It was like a handshake.
It was a handshake. We put the deal together. He then lawyers did their thing, and at the end of the deal, the money goes into an escrow.
Yeah.
He closes, and we take our $35,000 or $37,000 out.
Oh, okay.
Because we're $5,000 in plus our profit.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah.
So, where were we going in the beginning of that?
I guess how you trust, how you build the relationships, impact.
Would I have been able to think that?
The vehicle.
Right. So all the vehicle. So all these years, I've known Ray for 15 years, and over the 15 years, I say, "Hey, let's do
Ray's
this."
a business partner.
Yeah.
Good.
I said, let's do this for the kids. I wanted to create a competition for 16-year-olds to get into business with their parent. The parents would be their coaches, and the two kids would then go out and start a little business, and they'd only be able to take $150, for a loan from their parents, and that's it, no more. And they got to figure out how to make a little business out of that. Wow. We'll do a national contest throughout the, you know. He said, it sounds pretty cool. He went back to work, and I went back to work. Mm-hmm. Nothing ever happened, you know. And all these little ideas. And it was from training. You know, you've done a lot of training classes, I'm sure, and the way it makes you feel. And then I had this the building now prior to this one, where I realized like these young kids were on my team and they needed to see that young people were investing in real estate. And it was after that event, I had like 20-year-olds on my stage with 100 doors. I had like young kids on stage that had a lot of doors.
Wow.
It was after that I realized that.
Yeah, that's a trip.
Yeah. The kid from Connecticut, Tyler.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I mean, it's amazing, like what they're doing, young people. So I said, this is what I got to teach these kids to do something earlier rather than wait. My buddy's going to be 50. He only has like 7 or 8 doors. I said, what would have happened if he started when he was 35?
Yeah. I
said, what would have happened to your real estate portfolio if you started 10 years earlier at 25? Because I couldn't imagine, right? I didn't do that. Yeah. I didn't have that luxury because I wasn't thinking like that.
One of the blessings I've had, I don't know why I thought this way. I think the reason why, because I own right now 20 doors, right? I hit 20 doors December of 2024. Now I'm actually at 22, but I'm selling the 2-family in Richfield Park. That was a good deal too. I bought it for $465, including closing costs wrapped in, and I put $30K in, $495. I'm under contract for $585. So it's a good solid deal. Rip it $70K and keep going.
Do you list that yourself?
I'd list it myself, yes. And I disclose the owner has a real estate license. There's nothing wrong. Sure. And the cool thing actually, sidebar, tangent, as you can know my ADHD brain, right? This is what it is whenever I go to an owner, because what we're doing, we do 2 types of marketing direct to owner, mainly. We have, of course, the ads, social media. Hey, buy your house, sell your house, Newark, number 1. No, but in all seriousness, what we're looking at, the first thing we do actually is SMS. We mass SMS, right? We do not TCPA compliant most likely, but it's okay. I'm looking forward to the fine one day coming, I'm sure.
I heard there's something. I don't know about it, but I know there's something going on.
Yeah, they're cracking down. Yeah. And then the second thing we do is we mail checks to people's houses. That's like our big thing. Very expensive, but we just mail checks. It's very expensive. But whenever I just got a lady called me on a check.
When you say a check, you mean
check.
like
you know how you ever own a car from like Honda or Hyundai, they mail you a check. Hey, we'll pay you this amount for your car. It's like a fake check.
Yeah, okay.
Like that, same exact thing. Fake check for your house, but it comes up in like a W-2 envelope.
It looks good.
It looks really real. Anyways, so and I'm getting all
good
the calls.
Idea. Please take that note.
Oh, it's really good. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's actually really good. But the point is, when I get the call, I always tell people like, hey, we're a real estate company. We can buy your property. We can list your property. Whatever it is, we can manage your property. So whenever I go, I think my like hacks is I'm so like saying, I don't care if they like me or not. I'm so honest. And directly in relation to what they need. So if someone's there and they're like, hey, I need the most of my money, like that guy in Richfield Park, I told him like, man, I could put your house in the market today for $500. You get crazy amount of offers. You probably sell like $550. Who knows? Or I can buy it right now for $425. And then he's like, I don't want $425. I'll sell it to you for $450 though. I go, okay, no problem. So I know the margin was like $550 at like pretty much as is. So now the township made me do the work, the $25K, but I got in the back end of the $585. The point of the story is, long story short, is about investing. The reason why I got into investing and how real estate impacted me, kind of like mentality of people looking down on me I did not like, right? That massive ego that ruled my life for pretty much the vast majority of my 20s and probably still in me, is this guy. I was selling him a 3-family in the Ironbound at the time was $270,000. Very cheap.
Wow.
Very cheap freaking house 7 years ago. And it needed about $200,000 worth of work. And I was like, the whole thing needed to be gutted, $150,000 minimum, $200, maybe back then $150. Now it'd be like $250. So I was like, man, this is a home run deal. And I said to him, and I never forget what he said. He was basically like, why don't you just stick to opening the door? It basically, long story short, is what he said. He is like a very pompous guy. I hadn't sold a deal yet. He's like, why don't you just stick to, opening up the doors, Brendan? Let me teach you. And he meant that, I'm sure, in like a funny, like mentor way, but kind of was a dick, honestly.
Right.
That's kind of that's actually what would happen.
Sure.
There. So from that moment, I was like, these guys think they're better than me. These investors. I did not like that. I did not like it. So from there, I had the mindset to buy. I did not like. That's actually really the motivation. So I started buying. Now in my 20s, I'm 30. I just turned 30. I have my 20 doors. I got to tell you something. drastically underrated owning property. And we hype it up so much, right?
Overrated?
Underrated. Underrated.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Underrated. Because I'll tell you what I did. It's not about it's not about like just what you own. It's about really like how you run it, right? So for me, majority of my units, 12 of my units are Airbnbs. So I'm making like 40% more than my rentals, right? 35% more than my rentals would. And no risk of eviction. And freedom, right? If I want to sell them out. But more than that, what I've learned about you guys, what if you start at 25? I tell my clients all the time, one property, no way, shape, or form, that cash flow is going to change your life. But the moment you own one, you've done the hardest thing ever. You got one.
You broke through.
You broke through. The moment you break through, you now know you can do it again. That's it. And now they have those programs, the 5%, you can buy a 2-3 family, right? All this stuff. So I'm like, you can really buy another one. Before it was like, okay, you need 20. It's like, all right, very hard. Maybe I'll never buy another one. Fair. But now with 5%, you can really do it, right? There's really, really possible. So all that to say, I think real estate, it impacts our lives because once you break through, like when you're selling the donuts, right? I guarantee you never thought in your life you would ever make it past 60 grand, 100 grand.
People think I have a donut shop, by the way. You said it so many times. I think I'm the donut guy.
He does not.
I'm the donut guy. Did we tell that on camera here, or is it? That's all right.
Maybe you could have Donuts by Eric. Maybe that's a brand. You give it to all your tenants.
E&D, Eric Donuts.
E&D Donuts.
Yeah, no, it's interesting you say that. Getting that first deal under your belt is the biggest thing. I have, like I said, I have two agents who've been around 20 and 25 years.
Oh, wow.
And they're investing now for the first time with me in a flip.
Why do you think agents don't do that? Why? Like, I'm gonna be honest, it doesn't make sense.
I don't know. Agents are too busy worried about circle of excellence and getting deals. They just want to survive at this point, right? A lot of agents are just in survival mode.
Yeah, especially
they always have been.
Oh, really?
Right?
Always.
Well, yeah, agents, average agents doing what, 7 deals a year if they're lucky?
Oh, I heard actually less.
Well, it is less, but I'm being,
you're being
in
nice.
the good times.
You're being nice.
It's the good times, right?
Yeah.
4 to 5 deals a year.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
And so, because they don't do the things that they should be doing on a regular basis, consistency.
Yeah, consistency.
So they're in survival mode. They don't even think to invest in money. It's like, so look, I went years making a couple $100,000 and didn't invest. I invested in the beginning.
What clicked that you were like, I gotta invest? And how old were you when you started investing?
I was 32.
Okay, so you were about 7 or 10 years into the real estate at that point.
4 years. 4 years into it.
Okay, so 4 years in, you say, okay, I'm making a few $100,000, I gotta invest.
Yeah.
What clicked? Why?
Because I knew at some point I didn't want to have to hustle every day to make the donuts. No pun intended. Got to make the. You don't know the commercial.
Make the dough. I don't. Make the donuts. I don't.
Got to make the donuts. To Dunkin' Donuts commercial. So I knew that I wanted to have some sort, and yet here I am flipping homes. Mm-hmm. I only owned one 8-unit rooming house in Caldwell. Sold it.
A rooming house. Wow.
Yeah. Cash cow. Right? Yeah, cash cow.
The most random investment first property I've heard.
Well, they have them all over the place, right?
Yeah, we do rooming houses in our Airbnbs. We take a 3-family, 9 bedrooms, and we do run by the room.
Make it real nice and turn it into an Airbnb.
Yeah, it's $45 a night, $55 a night, $65 a night, and we charge honestly per room in Newark you can pull in like $1,200 a room.
For the month.
For the month, about $1,200, maybe a little bit more if you're lucky. But
this was
at least
a dump.
14.
This was a dump, and I was pulling in about $150 a week.
So about $600 a month.
$600 a month.
Yeah.
So it'd be better. I was gonna buy my partner out and then turn it into a sober house.
There's a lot of money in this, I hear.
Yep.
A lot.
Big money.
There was a guy at your event. He was talking about how they're doing a motel or something like that. I think maybe it was David Choi actually. He's saying that he's on a deal where they're making a motel into a homeless shelter.
Interesting.
And
Who's going to pay that? The government?
The government pays it, per bed.
Wow.
So you can fit like 4 beds in one room.
My buddy took a 2-family down the shore in Freehold that he was renting 2 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom. He was renting for like $800 and $1,200 a month. Renovated it nice, turned it into a sober house. He was getting $275 a week per bed, 2 beds in each bedroom.
Oh no! Wow.
So he's got 5 beds in the 3-bed and 4-bed. I mean, he was making he went from making.
No, yeah.
$2,100 a month to making $6,000 a month.
No, yeah, the guy leveled up. Yeah, so right now, I'll give you an example. This is the best case scenario on Airbnb world. And this kind of money is so funny because when I got into real estate, my goal, Eric, was to hit 60K. That was my life goal.
Well, you know the new number when you ask anyone.
I don't know what it is.
The first year. What do you want to make your first year?
100K, I would say.
100K.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to make 100K. Where do they come up with this number?
That is true, actually. You're right.
They want to make $100,000, but they don't want to do the work.
No, I don't want to do the work. No. And it's funny, too, now, it actually is a lot more work. I try not to talk too much about real estate, like agency world. Yeah, we do love, we're number one in Newark, right? But we did about 200 units last year. It was like 198.
That's amazing.
Right? Really cool. Love it. Love Newark. All I care about is Newark. Yeah. I don't care about anything else at all to any capacity.
You don't do anything outside?
I personally avoid at all costs. I will do it for friends and family, but I avoid it. If I have a listing appointment in Jersey City, it could be a $4 million listing, it could be a $2 million listing. I don't care. I send my guy. I'm not going. If I have a listing in Roselle, I don't want to go. I only want to work with people in Newark. That's all I care about.
That's awesome.
I do not care. I literally don't care. If you're a friend, if you're a family, if I've known you for a long time, like I'm helping a client right now in Rutherford, they're buying a house. I really like them. I say, no worries. Let's go together.
It's a hot market.
Very hot market. I had no idea. I learned a hard lesson. Let me tell you.
Blue ribbon schools.
I went to high school in Rutherford, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, and that's where I met Troy. Anyways,
Wow.
So with the buyer agency agreement, for the first time, right, where we're saying the sellers are going to be, it was always this way, but now it's like, you need to have signed before you show the buyer agency agreements. We've been charging our clients who are on the buy side, about a third of our clients at least, about 1%, 1% or more since November 2022. So the past year and 4 months, we've been charging buyers to buy a house with us because we went to a KW mastermind. It's been going very well. We make a good amount of money. We charge the buyer $10,000 to purchase a house with us here in Newark. And it was the buyer.
Regardless if you're paid?
Regardless. Does not matter.
And still collect the 2 or 2.5, 3, whatever?
Still collect.
Are you allowed to do that?
No, you're allowed to do it for sure. Remax,
really?
It was George Velasquez on Bergen Street. He offered $2.25 on $1 million sale, 3 family. We earned $22.5, and we told the buyer when he worked with us, we earned 1% in addition to whatever we're charged, paid out by the listing side, due on buyer at time of closing, period. So total, we got $32.5. The listing agent got less than we did on the buy side, and that's happened numerous times.
That's usually the other way around.
What happens numerous times with us because we charge the buyers. Why? We create value, we set the fee, we collect the fee. So we're not shook. But all that says now, I'm on listing appointments, and for the first time, like people used to say before, just be difficult, but now they're like legit. They're saying, I'm happy to pay you 3%. I'm happy to pay you 4%. I'm happy to pay, not 4. I'm happy to pay you 3%. I'm not offering anything to the buy side. And they have this site, like they have it ready. So at we had a listing recently, $950,000. And it's funny how real estate impacts you because when you're in real estate a long time, your friends become realtors. On our team, we're very close friends, right? It's for better or for worse. And one thing that happened is a team member said, I have this listing in Maplewood. It's going to be $950. I'm getting paid 2%. That's it. The buyer's responsible. And one of the team members was like, I have a buyer for that property. It's not fair. I'm not going to get paid. She's like, that's on
One
you.
of your team members said this.
Yeah, well, my team member said it to who has a buyer for the property, said it to the other team member essentially who has that listing.
Okay.
So she was like, no, it's not like you got to negotiate my commission. She's like, I'm not going to lose the listing because of you. Like you got to have to negotiate this. You can come in at $970.
Right.
And you can take that $20K for you. The seller doesn't care.
Right.
He just wants his $950. It's like a net listing. And she was like, okay, but it's really not cool, blah, 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 blah. And I'm saying, it's like,
it's the new age.
This is the new wave. Just offer $970. Call it a day.
Yeah, it's
definitely not.
I don't work with buyers. I've 6, 7 buyers in 20 years.
Yeah,
and just I'd rather be a listing agent.
Yeah,
Mike
for sure.
Perry taught me that years ago.
Oh, the time value is disproportional. Jeff Glover in your building now, he said it's like 18 hours to handle a listing, about 40 hours to handle a buyer or something like that.
Well, we come from the same coach, so it's.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, he's a big Mike Ferry guy.
He's really?
Yeah. So and the listing agent is the employer, and the buyer's agents are the employees. And I remember when I first got married to my wife, she would say, we'd be home at dinner time. I don't work nights and weekends. In fact, I don't work Fridays anymore. Yeah, I'm done Thursday at 3:00. I don't come back till Monday. Once in a blue moon, I'll have to go on a listing.
Are you available if needed on phone call?
Yeah, of course. I do take probably too many phone calls than I care to. I do an all-team call at 11:00 on Friday, rather.
Okay.
I meet with my director of ops on 10:00. So for 10 to 12, I work on Friday. But I don't take clients out.
No.
And I've created that that life by design, so to speak. I don't work. But I remember at dinner time, I'd be answering the phones a lot 2, 3, 4 years ago. A lot. My wife would be like, really, Eric? And I said, I could be out there working. Be grateful I'm sitting at the table. And the schlubs are out there. No offense to the hardworking agents.
No, but it's a call to really like
know.
yeah, I agree. On our team, we have a paid showing assistant. Paid.
Yeah.
They don't have to pay. We pay for them. They'll show the property for you. Good. And I always tell
I mean,
myself,
the agent doesn't pay.
the agent doesn't pay. The team pays. Very good setup. Licensed showing agent.
Wow.
Free. If you want, I'm like, why are you guys going to push yourself? Just send the showing agent. Coach the buyer beforehand. Coach the buyer after. You can always go to the property the next morning. Yeah. It's okay.
You know, agents think they have to be the one.
The client doesn't want you to be. If you have a client who wants you to be the one, it's very simple. You need to educate the client. Hey, if I'm the one, you're going to hate me because I'm
got to set
only
expectations.
One. That's it.
My business partner Ben showed me an agent on the team who's doing about 120 buyers a year. I go, well, how's that possible? And he still has a life. He's got 2 showing partners. Oh, yeah. We call them showing partners. They go out. He pays them.
Mm-hmm. I bet they get paid well.
Showing partners are making $150,000 a year.
Yeah, if you're a beast, yeah.
$150,000 each.
They're beasts.
They're beasts. And because they're doing a tremendous amount of business. Each showing partner is doing 40, 50 deals a year.
And they're going to home inspections. They're going to appraisals. Everything. So he's doing the consult, handoff. It's almost like a buyer's agent, almost. But he's doing negotiation.
Right. He does it from inside the armchair.
I like the armchair. I need a good armchair in my life. I'm an armchair guy. All right, Eric. I do want to say thank you so much for coming on.
I appreciate it.
Everyone better go to Build It Now in the next event.
October. Build It Now is coming.
Where do you
North
think
Jersey.
It's going to be?
It's either going to be here in Newark. We're looking for hotels.
Really?
Either in Newark or Parsippany or somewhere in the north, right here.
Oh, I hope I get you in Newark. How many people do you usually have? What will be your goal for Build It Now?
We're looking at 250 this next one.
Where can
so
you
I need a space, but we have breakout rooms. We need 250 in one room, and then the next day we're coming back to do breakouts and masterminds. So I'm going to need a moderator of this type of mastermind, a moderator for the Airbnbs, a moderator for
250 people is a big squad. It's big. I don't know where you're going to fit 250 people in Newark.
Well, you can't. You can't go with the most hotels. So it's got to be like the bigger hotels. Some bigger hotels. I've been talking to some hotels in Parsippany.
Yeah, Parsippany has big hotels.
They have the space. Yeah. Most of the hotels that I've been to in the past are like 120 max.
That's what I'm saying. Anyway,
we'll figure it out.
Wherever it is in October, you better come. If you don't come, stop following the podcast. All right. Adios, guys.
Peace.